Good evening again. School sports are a go in Kentucky with most teams starting to play next week, but there are questions regarding how students will get to and from the games.
Yeah, in the latest in our ongoing series, Athletes at Risk, Christian Hauser looks at the transportation policy and why some districts aren't going with the recommendation.
A week from today, athletes across northern Kentucky will be getting on buses for the first time to compete against other schools in high-contact sports like football. But districts may need to take more buses than usual. The Kentucky Department of Education issued guidance saying a maximum of 12 students are allowed on a bus. That's in contrast to the guidance for buses taking kids to and from school, which is allowed to be full as long as community spread in the area isn't out of control and that the kids wear masks and take other precautions. Kenton County is going with that policy for extracurricular activities.
We are going to follow the guidelines and the recommendations by the state to transport our students to school, and that those guidelines will be sufficient for transporting our student athletes, with the exception of if the bus ride is over an hour.
So when Simon Kenton plays my alma mater, Dixie Heights, in a few weeks, the normal amount of buses will be used for the 20-minute trip. If the trip's longer than an hour, though, more buses will be used.
The virus doesn't know the difference between a football player and a fourth grade student on the bus. So essentially that backs up our point of we're going to follow the guidelines that we're using to transport our students to school safely.
I called and emailed the State Department of Education to find out what the difference is between a student riding one of these buses to go to school versus one going to an extracurricular activity. A spokesperson denied that initial request. They also denied a follow-up request when I pointed out that this policy is already causing some schools around the state to cancel games and that the public has a right to know why there are two different policies governing the same buses. The statement sent to me from KDE says in part, some districts still may face challenges with access to buses and drivers. Therefore, districts are encouraged to implement social distancing when practical and possible. That contradicts the initial guidance given to districts. I asked for further clarification but have not heard back. In Independence, Christian Hauser, Local 12 News.
Now, there have already been football games canceled because of the bus policy. To learn more about the risks athletes face during a pandemic, head to athletesatrisk.com.